Make way for the ESPN national correspondent covering the NFL, Sal Paolantonio, his 29th training camp, and joins us on the programs. What's the big takeaway from last night's game?
Well, Dan, I think the biggest headline was provided by Jerry Jones. He did an impromptu presser. Right after I talked to Mike McCarthy on SportsCenter, Jones talked to the Dallas media, kind of stuck my nose in there, and I asked him what kind of advice, or, I know you're not close to your players, especially Dak. And when he talked about Dak's injury and about how cautious they are being, he reached up under his arm and pointed to his lat muscle, confirming that Dak's injury is not necessarily a shoulder or an elbow or an arm issue, that he has a strained lat on the right side. And he also confirmed that it happened when he threw a long Hail Mary pass in practice, or before practice started, when he got on the day he got hurt. And as you know, from a lat injury, it's all about rest, because it can impact your shoulder, your arm, your back, your hip, everything. And for Dak coming back from that gruesome leg injury, it's all about rest and icing it and getting some stimulation. But the basic bottom line is, you read anything about it or you get any kind of advice from a doctor, they'll tell you to do nothing until it's completely healed.
How much pressure do you think? We love to rank things, people, but as far as individuals with pressure on them, where does Dak Prescott rank, in your opinion?
Pretty near top of the list, right? Got the money. Has got a lot of components around him. They've invested a lot in this team, changed head coaches, kept his offensive coordinator. Obviously, the gruesome leg injury that he suffered in Week 5 last year resulted in the team going 6-10 when they were on their way. I mean, the offense looks so good, and I really like Dak. I think he's super tough. He's obviously a very smart and capable player, but he's just a great leader. Dak is one of the great leaders that we have in the NFL, Dan. And I think he's going to come out of this. He's totally committed to making sure that the injury is 100%. He understands, he's heard from the team, the coaches, the doctors, that this is the kind of injury where if you are not fully healed and you re-injure it, it could really last for weeks and weeks on end.
You sat down with Ben Roethlisberger. What was the big takeaway from that?
Well, Ben's 39, and he's basically hitting the reset button like Tom Brady. I mean, Brady did it when he was 43, went to a new team, had a new offense, a new offensive coordinator, and here's Ben at 39, new offensive coordinator, new offense. Matt Canada is the new offensive coordinator, and the dictum from Rooney on down is we will run the football, when you're last in the league and running the ball. And they were way last in the league by a wide margin, Dan, in play-action pass. And so if you're last in the league in running the ball and you're not providing any deception at all out of your running game, then they're just coming after you. Everybody knew they were going to throw it, and they just ran out of gas. As for how he looked, I thought he looked excellent. I really did. The ball had great trajectory. The ball had terrific accuracy, deep and short. Ben's a great passer. His movement, which is always great, subtle in the pocket, looked good. I was there on the day they were hitting. He wasn't touched, obviously. But that was a day where, the energy was high. And I thought that he really looked good and he sounded good. And he understands what he's up against. He really does. He's taking it year by year. He's got 1 year lease, I believe.
Yeah, I wondered if they didn't think they could get a quarterback they wanted, or they just didn't like the quarterbacks that were going to be available, and that's why they decided to stay with Ben.
Well, I think they decided to stay with Ben because he's a two-time Super Bowl champion, and he gives them their best option.
Yeah, but you got to start thinking about the future here if you're Pittsburgh.
You do, and then you definitely do, and They did bring in Dwayne Haskins. He's a reclamation project. And if anybody can reach him, it's Mike Tomlin. And they were saying all the right things about him. And now I watched him in practice, watched him very closely last night. And when I watched him in practice, they were implementing some of the stuff that he was doing last night. Over and over again, Canada had him rolling to his left, and throwing outside the pocket, moving the so-called platform, the launch platform for him. Partially that is because they've had some problems, protecting the passer. And the other thing is they like his athleticism. And he's turned into a very good passer outside the pocket on the move. So, they're working with him to try to see how committed he is to the game, how he will take the coaching, how he will pick up this offense. And, he's got the best and the best to learn from. I mean, I just have a high regard for Mike Tomlin. I think he's one of the best coaches all time in the NFL.
Well, he's a Hall of Famer. If Bill Cowher is going in the Hall of Fame, then so is Mike Tomlin.
And so is Ben Roethlisberger, and I'm a voter, and you know that, and I will vote first ballot for both of them.
Would you take a look? I don't know how this works. Is it the Veterans Committee that Kenny Anderson and Ken Riley, who played for the Bengals, I don't have any. I mean, I have a platform, but I'm not a voter. But I'm just curious how that works with players like that, of just getting the attention of the voters and say, is anybody talking about them? Has anybody spoke on their behalf?
There's a huge pool of senior candidates, and both of them are in it.
Okay.
And it's, their names come up. There's definitely legitimate discussion about both. I can tell you from a personal standpoint, I'm a big believer in Kenny Anderson. I think Kenny Anderson should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I don't know what the debate will be about Riley, but I think Anderson has been overlooked for way too long and should be in.
Do you have any hesitation voting for Eli Manning?
None.
Okay.
None whatsoever. I think, I'll vote for him right from the start. And there'll be a discussion about him for sure. But Eli Manning's going to the Hall of Fame. Eli Manning, he's going to get in. I don't know if it's going to be first ballot. It might be a little bit of a struggle for the first year or two because of the debate that will go on about his career. But I will vote for him right away, and I will push hard for him to go in. And he should go in, and he will go in.
Talking to Sal Paolantonio from the Mothership. Give me the player who's not in, who should be.
Oh, boy. Who's not in, who should be. That would have to be Tony Boselli.
Okay.
I think Tony Boselli, is obviously his injury history with that shoulder and the length of service that he had. But we set a precedent with Terrell Davis, with TD, with the Broncos.
Yeah.
And Boselli, Dan, I mean, I don't have to tell you, when you watched Boselli, he was just better than everybody in his era. Shut down Bruce Smith. He was just great. And he's very close to getting in. And I'm not going to make a prediction because it's a very unpredictable room, and you never know what's going to happen with the vote. But I think Tony Boselli has a very good shot of getting in this year or next. Any
whispers with Deshaun Watson, you being based in Philadelphia? I don't know if the Eagles are completely sold on Jalen Hurts. Doesn't seem like it, but what are the odds, you think, that they take a run at Deshaun Watson?
Well, the beautiful thing about working for ESPN is I got Chris Mortensen and Adam Schefter on my team. So I'm going to let them handle that. That's way beyond my pay grade as far as Deshaun Watson. But I will tell you this about Jalen Hurts. I was there last Friday. I talked to Nick Sirianni one-on-one, and I talked to Jalen. It was the first one-on-one interview he did. And I watched him in practice. So he's trying to get his feet under him in Nick Sirianni's offense. And Jalen is a tremendous athletic talent who last year was on a pace to put us some great numbers. Now, his completion percentage, I understand, was below 60%, but that's just such a small sample size, 4 games. That was such a tremendous pressure cooker situation with COVID-19 and Carson Wentz getting hurt and all of the controversy surrounding Carson Wentz. So Jalen Hurts was thrown into the fire and passed all of the tests, passed the eye test, passed the leadership test, passed the teammate test, was embraced by his teammates, and Jalen Hurts right now is you've got a new coach and a new system. It's going to be run heavy. They want him to be more of a pocket passer. You saw the comments he made last week where he said he's learning to appreciate what the coaches want him to do while not sacrificing his athleticism. And what are those code words for? Hey, I'm learning how to be a pocket passer, but I want to show off what I can do.
I'll leave you with this. Our poll question today is not who's the best quarterback, second best quarterback in NFL history. Who is the third best quarterback of all time, in your opinion?
Bart Starr. So I'm going to go. Did I shock and amaze you?
Yeah.
I did, I think, yeah. I'm going Montana, Brady, and Bart Starr. I think Montana is the all-time greatest. If I had a game to win, it would be Montana.
Okay.
If I had a game, the championship game, it would be Joe Montana. Tom Brady would be number 2.
Okay.
And then Bart Starr. Look at his postseason numbers and record. His efficiency and production in the postseason in that offense was amazing. And he had, in my view, the most iconic quarterback sneak in pro football history. And the great thing about it, as we now have found out, is that he audibled at the line of scrimmage. He was supposed to hand it off to Chuck Mersini, decided not to do that, and went in and on his own. Love that story.
Yeah, selfish, me first. Yeah, wanted all the glory, right? So.
Yeah, just like Bart Starr's personality.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. He was the John Glenn of the NFL in the 60s. And brief story, very brief. I was with it. I was in a restaurant in Atlanta in a Super Bowl, and I don't remember what year it was. And Bart Starr was quietly having breakfast with his wife. And every time she left the table, he stood up, helped her out of her chair, and then when she came back to the table, he stood up and put her back in her chair and pushed it back in. He was just a consummate gentleman, even when nobody was looking.
That's what the Danettes do for me. When I get up from the table, they stand up. And then when I come back, and it's not they don't do it on their own. I basically order them that you stand up, and then when I come back, then they all help me with my chair.
That's sweet.
Yes, it is. Very, very heartwarming. Very heartwarming. And by the way, I don't know if you had any vote on this, but thank you to whoever voted on the Roselle Award with John Facenda, because I made it a mission that I just wanted people to, just let's re-examine this. And the fact that Steve Sable's going in, his father's already in, and I just thought, make it a trilogy that John Facenda deserved to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So I think it's wonderful he'll be honored tonight.
Why did it take so long?
I thought that he was in, Sal. And then I said to McLovin, I said, would you check and see if John Facenda is in? He goes, he's not. I go, we're writing a letter. And I wrote a letter to David Baker, and I just said, just bring this up so people know that John Facenda is not in the Hall of Fame. And he said that he would, and, it's awesome that John, that voice will be heard on those loudspeakers tonight, and it will bring back a lot of memories for a lot of people there, and it'll be great.
It was the voice of God, and it was the soundtrack of our lives.
Yeah. That's awesome. Have fun this weekend. Always great to catch up with you, Sal. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me on the program, Dan.
That's Sal Paolantonio, the Mothership. Always great to talk to Sal.